Hello and welcome to this rather short entry-level tutorial, which is meant to spark interest in those who have never even opened Houdini once in their lives, or maybe opened it and stared at the weird technical user interface straight from 1991 for 5 minutes and then closed it again. So this is not meant to be technical, or you don't have to understand each node we are using to the full extent, but rather to build something along with me that will hopefully show you the magic of Houdini and the magic of procedural setups, and hopefully you'll have something after the end of this tutorial that you can marvel at, and that will hopefully spark interest in you for Houdini and for this wondrous, amazing piece of software. So yeah, hopefully it will make you want to know more about it, stick with it, and dive deeper into what you have seen today. So let's start right away. If you open Houdini for the first time, this is what you see. We are not going to change any of these windows, because honestly, when I was starting out with Houdini, I had panic attacks if I accidentally closed one of those windows, and I thought I would never get them back. So we are not even going to touch this whole user interface stuff, but we leave it as is, because honestly it works great for what we are doing today. So let's start by dropping down our first node. And in Houdini you need a geometry container, first folder, if you will, where you can store your network. So to drop down our first node, we're going to press Tab once, and then we're going to press the G key, E and O. So this will mark the geometry node. And we're just going to confirm this by hitting Enter twice. There it is, our first node. This is just a general folder where we can store our work. And we're just going to call this work, because we are working. Now, first thing we have to do is to store this project, and we're going to do this really quick by going to the upper left, pressing File and New Project, which brings this beautiful window up, straight from the 80s or 90s as well. And we're going to click onto this arrow, and we're going to choose the desktop in my case, or any other folder that you would like to store your file in, and double click it, hit accept. Now, after we chose the folder, we are going to mark this project name and call it something like Pebbles Tutorial without the Oriel, and then we are going to accept. And as Houdini is kind of special and weird at the same time, you have to do one more step, which is to hit File again, then Save As, go to this untitled, mark it, and press Pebbles Tut again, hit Enter. Now our project is saved, and we're safe, and we won't lose anything as long as we hit Control S as often as possible. So let's dive into our work node, and that's easily done by double clicking it. So here we are. This is our empty network. Here we are going to build the network. Here we are going to set parameters, which is everything Houdini is about, setting parameters. And this is our viewport, and we will come back to this shortly when I show you how to navigate it. But let's start right away. We want to start with a sphere. So this is what we are going to put down next. So hit Tab again, type in SPH maybe, and then Enter twice. And there we have our sphere. You can see it in the viewport. It's lovely. And now we are going to change just two things on this node. You can always mark it, and here at the primitive type, we are going to choose polygon, and we're going to give it a little more resolution, because this looks like an interesting geometrical something, but no, we want a sphere. So either type in 10 here, or we're going to slide this slider all the way to the right and have a frequency of 10. Nice. So To get this over with, of course, we are going to press Ctrl S to save it. And this is the viewport. If you grab the viewport or an object by pressing the left mouse key and dragging, you will tumble and see your object from any view that you want to. If you press and hold the right mouse key, you're going to zoom in or out. And the third option is to use the middle mouse key, press and hold it to just move around the viewport. That's basically it. If you ever get lost, which will happen a lot like this is very weird, even to me after 3 years in Houdini. You can just hit the H key and you will have your view centered on what's in there. All right, let's zoom out a little bit by pressing and holding the right mouse key and zooming out. Next, we are doing something that is very common in Houdini. We are going to make a volume out of this geometry by marking this node, which was already marked, but just for the hell of it, we are going to press Tab again and put down an ISO offset. You don't have to really know what this is. I'll just put it down and set the parameters and explain a little bit on the way. So now to connect this to our sphere node directly, you can press Shift and Enter, and there you go. It's already connected to our first node, or to be more precise, the last marked selected node. So the ISO offset does one beautiful thing. It just makes a fog volume out of your geometry. So what is a fog volume? It's just like fog in nature. It consists of a density, and this is the same for the whole sphere. And this is a bit coarse, so we are going to change one parameter on this node only, and this is over here, uniform sampling. We're going to put 50 in there. So this has a nice resolution, and you can template other nodes that are not viewed right now. The blue view flag tells you, okay, I'm viewing this node. So you can press it here and you're viewing the initial sphere again. But we can do this, and we can template the original sphere by clicking this template flag. And you can see it's pretty much accurately filling the sphere. If you don't use 50 here, but keep it maybe at 10, you will see that it exceeds our original sphere, and we don't want this. So back to 50, press the template flag again, and it's gone. Let's move on and maybe move this to the side a little bit, because we are going to need something else over here. Into this fog volume, we will scatter some points, and scattering points is maybe the most used workflow in Houdini. So let's just do this. We mark this node, and we will press Tab again, hit Scatter, just type in SCA or something like that, and you will see the scatter node. Hold on Shift, press Enter, there it is. This is a lot of points. You can barely see them, so if you press this little button, Display Points, you will see, oh, it's a lot of points. 1000 to be precise, because this is what this field is showing us. We don't want 1000, we want 100, so we're just going to delete 10 and be done with this one. So we just scattered some points into the volume of the sphere. Sounds complicated, but it actually is not, and you will do this all the time in Houdini. Looks kind of cool already, hopefully. So just press H maybe to center your viewport to those points. And now we are going to do something really cool, which is fracturing this initial sphere and using the points we just scattered. So one thing we are going to put down now is press Tab and enter Voro, which gives us the Voronoi fracture. Now to select it, just press the arrow down key once, press Enter, and then you can freely choose where to put this node. Maybe here. Press the left mouse key. And there it is, our Voronoi fracture node. Okay, this sounds complicated already, but it's easy. Just left click on this small connector here, put it into the left connector on the upper side, and then take the scatter output thingy and put it on the top right thingy. Connect it, there you go. As you see, the view flag is still on the scatter, so you need to put it on the Voronoi fracture. Now, this already made some new lines. You can disable a node by pressing this bypass flag on the very left. And you can see this is what we had before the Voronoi fracture, and after you can see these new lines. Now, what did we do? We created 100 new pieces and fractured the whole sphere into these 100 nice pieces. Just to give you a cool view of it, you can mark this node, press Tab and enter EXP and choose Exploded View with the arrow keys. Hit Return, then place it somewhere here, and you can connect it to the upper input and press the view flag. Now, this is pretty cool. Press the right mouse key, hold it and pull this back a little bit. Use the left mouse key and hold it to watch the beauty of this fractured thing. Now, this is already giving us something that is pretty close to what we are going to do in the end, which is having small pieces that we're going to round off and use as our pebbles to fill our initial shape. So let's for now delete this, mark it, press delete, and it's gone. Now, the next thing we are going to do is another typical Houdini thing, and it is a for loop. So what we are going to do is take each and every of those 100 new pieces and work on those pieces only in a loop, if you will, and then spit them out again, combined as a result of all 100 shapes we worked on. Sounds complicated. It isn't. So let's mark this and hit Tab, enter 4, and then you will have a selection of nice for each loops. One sounds more complicated than the other, but they are all pretty useful, I would say. So we're going to choose this for each named primitive. Press the left mouse key, press it again over here, and then we drop down a for each loop. Nice, we are getting more nerdy by the second. So we are going to take this lower left output thingy and connect it to this input. Maybe select this lower one and pull it down a little bit so we have some more room here. Now, what are we basing this for loop on so it knows what one piece of those 100 actually is? The Voronoi fracture node builds something very useful to us, and it spits it out, which is a name attribute. So if you hover over a node like this, you will see the eye. And if you click the eye, you can get this very, very helpful info window. And it's showing us what, at this point in our network, we have in terms of attributes, groups, all that good stuff. You don't need to remember all of this. Just to visualize this now, here is one primitive attribute, whatever that is, and you can see it's called name. But what we want to do is click this little slider, and now we can visualize this attribute. It is unique for every one of those 100 pieces, and it gives a nice color to each of those. And you can zoom in a little bit and tumble around. So this is an attribute that is on those chunks, if you will, and we can use this attribute in the for loop to make it decide what one piece actually is. So you can even watch this if you go to this for each end and mark it. We have this piece attribute activated and it's saying name, which is exactly what we have and what we just visualized. So let's get rid of the visualizer by clicking this eye again and clicking this slider again, and it's gone. So what do we want to do in this neat little for loop? We can pull this down a little bit as well, because we will actually insert something over here pretty soon. Now, we just made a fork volume out of our sphere, and now we're going to do a volume again, but just another type of volume. If we put the view flag on the first node of the for each block, we can see, oh, we have just one of those small cool little pieces, and we can see exactly what we are going to do on one of those pieces. Now, it's not at the middle, it's somewhere, it's exactly where it was created by the Voronoi fracture node, but that doesn't matter for now. We will take care of that in a second. So let's do another type of volume of this thing to smooth these rather harsh edges that we have here. We want pebbles, not weird mathematical shapes. No one likes that. So we are going to put down a new node. We're going to go over here in the network window, press tab, and type in VDB. So this VDB gives us a lot of options to choose from, and we are going to say from, maybe type in FR polygons. So arrow key down to VDB from polygons, hit enter twice, and there it is. It may be in a different color in your version of Houdini. I just gave it this standard pink color because pink is great. So just grab it, hold down the left mouse key, and insert it as our first node in the for each loop. Press the blue view flag. That is a weird word to say. And now you will see this is a VDB. We just had a fog volume, which is made of density. This is a VDB, which is made of values. I just say this, you can forget about it again, but just to be precise, it is a volume made from values that are negative on the inside of this thing, that are 0 at the surface of this thing, and positive on the outside of this thing. That's all you need to know, and not even that, because we're just going to use it. So let's go to the parameter window, voxel size, type in 0.01, hit enter, and that already looks a little bit more like we want it to be, but still too sharp. So we will take care of this by going over this network window, pressing tab again, and VDB. This time we want to get the VDB smooth, so type in SM and choose smooth SDF with the arrow keys. Hit enter twice, guide it into this loop as well, and press the view flag. Now, if you zoom out a little bit and tumble around, you can see this already looks a little bit more like a pebble. Not yet, maybe. So let's smooth out this thing a little bit more. Here where you can see filter voxel radius, we are just going to tell it to do this by the value of 2. And now it looks way nicer. So we don't want to work the whole thing with the VDB volume, but want to get back to polygons, which is the regular old thing to work in 3D software. So we are going to put down the next VDB node, hit tab, hit VDB, and then CON for convert VDB. It's already chosen, so press enter twice, pink as the rest of the VDB crew. So, at least in my case. So, hit the view flag, and now nothing happened. Why? Why didn't anything happen? We have to tell it what to convert it to. And that's why it says convert to, and we're going to choose polygons from this little drop down. Now, check this. It's polygons again. It's weird polygons. It doesn't look like it's any good topology, so we really want to make this a little bit better. So maybe take this one and move it down a little bit to get some more space in here. And then we will do the thing we did a lot of times before, hit tab. And then we want to have the quad remesher. So I was wrong. Quad, and there it is already, quad remesh beta. It says better, but it already works pretty well. So hit enter twice. There it is. Chain it in here, press the view flag, and look at this. This is a much nicer topology, but it's way too many polygons, so we might as well take this down to 1,000 and see what it looks like. And you know what? For what we are doing now, this is fine. We can always subdivide the whole thing later, whatever that means. So we are going to keep this as is, target quad count 1,000. And just to get back what we did, we just made this VDB, smoothed it out, converted it back to polygons, and gave it some nice topology. So if you look at it closely, you can see it's still a little bit sharp on the edges. So we are going to smooth it again, but this time the polygons. So let's hit tab and smooth to just have this first smooth node. Hit enter twice, chain it in, you know the deal already. And this is all we need to do here. It's just a little bit smoother, I would say. Yeah, just a little bit. Maybe reduce the filter quality to 1, and then it will smooth it out even more because it makes the filter a little bit more stupid and less accurate. In this case, stupid is better, and we want this. So now it's going to be somewhat more technical, but bear with me, it's going to be something that you will do in 3D software and Houdini all the time, which is giving this thing UVs. What are UVs? UVs basically are something you stick to your geometry. So in shading, you will give the geometry an information how to stick textures and images and basically textures in shading to this object. Well, maybe this doesn't mean anything or is not necessary if you're working on a still frame, but anything that's moving, you are going to want UVs, otherwise the textures are not sticking to your object. There's this little icon over here, which will activate the UV view, and behold, there are no UVs. So that's what we're going to do now. To make the UVs a little more nice, we are going to put down a very standard node in Houdini called match size, which will bring the object to the origin. Hit tab, MSI, and there it is, match size. Hit enter twice, chain it in here, view flag, and press H maybe over the viewport to see, aha, this is sitting right at the origin now. We want to do one more thing because we want to work on this at the world origin, but after this bring it back to where we caught it from. And to be able to do this, you will need to activate this little checkbox here, which says stash transform. It will store the initial position that the thing had here, which is a little bit more below and, well, right of center. And it will enable us to get it back there once we are done working on it at world center. So this is also all we have to do on the match size. Now we are giving this thing UVs. Press tab and UV, and there are a lot of options, but in this case we're just going to say TE for UV texture. Hit enter twice and chain this thing in. If you set the view flag, you will already see something happened here. Just zoom in with the right mouse button and you will see this is showing us some UVs now. They look terrible, I'm not gonna lie. So we are going to choose something else. This is stretched like crazy. No one wants stretched UVs, at least not that stretched. So we are going to go to this texture type field, click it and say polar to have some kind of, polar UV projection. And this looks terrible too. No, we don't want this. This is the dividing seam between the UVs, and we're going to enable fix boundary seams, and it fixed it for us. Houdini is great. Maybe press H again. There it is. Now we have UVs. This is done. And now we want to bring it back to where we got this nice little pebble from. So we are going to drop down a second match size, tab, MSI, enter twice, and there we have a second match size, which does nothing because it is already at world center. But behold, if we click this restore transform checkbox over here, it's right where we stole it from. Nice. So you have to imagine we are doing this for one of those small little pieces, but in the end this for loop will do it for all 100 of those pieces. For now we just need one more node, which is a normal node, to give it nice normals, which are always useful in shading. So we're going to press tab, NOR, normal, press enter twice, chain it in here, and we have normals. Just for good measure maybe, because we are not going to shade this thing. If you like this tutorial and you want me to show you how this could be shaded, you can drop a comment maybe under the video. It's going to be a little bit more advanced, but you never know. So now it's going to be a magical moment where we will activate the very last node. And once we hit this blue view flag, it will calculate everything we did for this one piece for the whole 100 pieces of the whole sphere. So let's do this. Let's activate this display flag. Houdini will start cooking. This is what it's called. Each and every one of these nodes will be cooked, processed, if you will, for all 100 pieces. You can watch what it's doing here. 93, 98. There you go. Press H maybe, and deactivate this UV view for now to see what we did. Ain't that cool? It's a sphere made or filled with pebbles. So, this is exactly what we wanted to do in this tutorial. One more thing. Houdini is very effective, and still you've seen that it takes some sweet time for it to cook these 100 pieces. Just follow me along here. I just want to show you the capabilities of Houdini and not explain everything in detail. But I think you should see this because you can marvel at it maybe as I did when I used it the first time. So we're going to speed this up by dropping down a compile block. Now, this is computer stuff I don't even know really well, but when you use it like this, the processor of your computer is not multi-threading. It's just using one kernel, maybe. Correct me if that was the wrong word. It probably was, for calculating all this. But most modern processors have multi-threading, so a lot of kernels or whatever, and they can be used at the same time. Now we're going to tell Houdini to do just that. Hit Tab over here in the network view and COMP, and then we have selected the compiled block. Hit Enter twice, and it almost exactly looks like the for loop, only in yellow. So click somewhere in your network to not have these both selected, and then we're just going to click and drag this first one on top of this for loop. We can press Escape. It doesn't have to calculate now. So we are going to drag this down here, maybe over here. Now zoom in a little bit, which is either done by using the mouse wheel or just like in the viewport, the right mouse button, and hold it and you can zoom. So, and now we are going to get this little thingy and put it into the input connector of the compile block, and we can press Escape again. We don't want it to cook right now. But we are going to select this. Now for this to work, there's one checkbox we need to check, and this is the very last one over here, multi-thread when compiled. Click it. Press Escape again. We don't want it to cook yet. We're going to select this compile N block, and now we're going to set the view flag and let it cook once. So that was fast, wasn't it? Press Ctrl S to save this maybe. So if you click somewhere inside of this loop, the warning signs finally disappear because they're scary. I don't want them. You don't want them. No one wants those warning signs. Now, to demonstrate how quick this is in comparison to without the compiled block, we can do something really cool which Houdini offers, and that is use a different seed to change the distribution and shapes of all these things with one slider. Go back to the very start of this and select our scatter button, and somewhere in the middle here is the global seed. If we change this now, it will use something else to do the randomness for all this, and it will cook the whole thing again. So if we just select the global seed, somewhere here, wherever you want to do it, maybe over here, you can see this was fast. Already cooked. Change it again. Done. And if you reactivate this little UV button, you can see it also has nice UVs. Press H to center this, and now we want to do one more thing. So now we are going back to the very end of this network. Select the compile end, and now I will just show you something which also works very procedurally and is a nice trick to offset these UVs. Because if you go into shading and project an image or an image texture onto these pebbles, you will see the 14 is here, just like it is here, and here, and here, and here, and everywhere else. It's almost everything at the same position. So you might want to offset it, that it looks more random and less uniform and more natural and cool. So just bear with me here. You don't have to really understand what I'm going to do now, but you may, 2 years from now, if you want to randomly offset UVs, you will maybe remember this tutorial. If you do so in the future, make sure to leave a comment and say, I did it in the future and offset UVs. Now, just select this. And to be able to do this, we need another unique attribute for each pebble. And Houdini offers a very nice and convenient way to give every one of these pebbles a unique identifier, which is a unique attribute. And this is the connectivity node. So mark this, hover over the network view, press tab, enter connectivity, and there it is. Shift and enter to connect it right away. Now this gave us the class attribute, and it's an integer, whatever that means. You will learn all this once you dive into Houdini and make one of those really good introductory courses that exist. For now, let's just say this is our unique identifier, and now we are going to press tab again and press VER for vertex, and then we're going to press the down arrow key until we hit this vertex wrangle, hold shift, press return. Nothing happens because we didn't put any code in here. Now, code. It's scary, I know, and if I press this spoon button, I have a preset. You won't have this when you have your fresh Houdini, but I'm just going to recall it now. Maybe for later, just know that this spoon opens the recipes and presets, and I will choose this vertex offset UVs code. It's scary, it's nerdy, it's weird, I know, especially on vertices. This may be the only vertex wrangle setup you will ever save in your entire Houdini career that's about to come, but it's there. So what does it do? It takes the UVs and it offsets them randomly by this class attribute. That's all you have to know. Just maybe you can pause the tutorial here and type this in. I think it's really important to include at some point VEX, which is the vector expression language that Houdini uses to fully open up Houdini and to be able to control simulations and points and all that good stuff at some point. But trust me, you will get a long way without using it, and at some point you will be very happy that VEX and those wranglers and the code exists, so you can control the magic of Houdini. Just to compare what we did. See, this is a 2 now, this is a 14, this is a 15, this is a 3. So we randomly offset this to see what happened. You can just zoom in a little bit more, press the bypass key here. Not offset, offset. Random. Random equals natural and equals nature, so that's what we want to have. So I guess this brings us to the end of this tutorial already. Now, it is a good measure in Houdini to end this thing, which is called a network of nodes, with a null to be referenced at some point later in Houdini. We're just going to do this, so you see how it's done. Press tab, enter NU for null, hold down shift, press enter, there it is. And usually this is called something like out, in all caps, underscore, pebbles. Pebbles. Not that hard to write, Philip. So, one more thing. To show you the really cool thing about this setup, about Houdini, about how a procedural setup works, let's first deactivate these UVs. We don't need them. Let's zoom out a little. And now, this is all live. So, the first thing we are feeding into this network is a sphere. what happens if we take another shape? To do this, we will insert some little thing in here called a null again. So press tab, enter NU for null, hit enter twice. Now we can just connect this sphere to the output of the null, and then we will just disconnect this by clicking the left mouse button and shaking this thing off. Nice. Now we can mark the null view flag over here. Maybe double click in here and call this in geo. Maybe put this sphere a little bit top left of our in geo null and connect the little thingies again. So this is our initial sphere. Let's choose something else to put in there and to pebbleize. So there's this cute thing called a rubber toy in Houdini. It's called Flippy. It's a duck. It's cute. Let's hit tab and type in RUB, and there it is. Test geometry, rubber toy. Hit enter twice. Let's mark it with the view flag. There's Flippy. All right. Now just take this output, put it into the input of the in geo. You can mark it, and nothing else happened yet because we didn't actually run the entire network. But now if you travel all the way down to this null, just mark the view flag. It will calculate everything pretty fast as well. And there you go. This is Flippy filled with pebbles. You can go over here, choose the sphere again, connect it, and as long as the view flag is set here, it will cook it. And pretty fast as well. If you want Flippy again, there it is. Let's try one last thing, maybe a box. Hit tab, type in box, hit enter twice, place it somewhere here maybe, and then connect it to the input. And there you have it. It's a box made of pebbles and filled with pebbles. So that brings us to the end of this tutorial, and hopefully this sparked your interest, or maybe hopefully your fascination for Houdini, and maybe gave you the motivation to dive in further and discover what this marvelous piece of software is all about. But actually, as is now, you can experiment, you can throw in any shape or object on top of this network, mark the very last node, set the view flag, and then it's going to cook it for you and pebbleize it. All right, please let me know if you found this tutorial helpful, if I should maybe do another one of those, or if I should really spend my time doing something else entirely. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.